Morning didn't come quickly to the cottage. It arrived shyly, like a guest unsure if it was welcome after such a long night of rain. The clouds still lingered, heavy and pale, and the forest outside was wrapped in mist so thick it looked almost like smoke rising from a sleeping world. I awoke to the sound of raindrops sliding from the roof into puddles below. The fire had gone out, my tea had turned cold, but my mind still echoed with the rhythm of my own voice from the night before. Once there was a castle that forgot how to dream. I whispered the line again, tracing the words in the air with my breath. It was a story I had told many times, and yet, every time I spoke it, it changed. Not because the story itself was different, but because I rose slowly from the chair, my joints creaking like the old wood beneath my feet, and opened the window. The cool morning air touched my face, damp and clean. The scent of rain-soaked soil filled the room, that smell of beginnings and endings tangled together. I smiled faintly. "You never leave, do you?" I murmured to the rain. "Even when I sleep, you stay to keep me company." I've lived alone for years. Too long, perhaps. My friends have gone, some to other towns, some to the quiet beyond this life. My wife too had left long ago, carried away by an illness that even the most beautiful words could not heal. And yet, I never stopped talking to her. Every story I told was a letter to the one who was gone. Every word I shaped was an attempt to make her voice return, if only in my memory. That was why I told Beauty and the Beast. Not because it was famous, not because it was beautiful, but because it was ours. Long ago, before the wrinkles and the solitude, I met her on a night just like the one in my stories, under the rain. She had been standing beneath a single lamp, her hair dark and wet, her eyes reflecting light like two pools of evening. She had smiled and said, "You look like someone who carries too many stories." I remember laughing. Maybe. Or maybe I just don't know how to stop telling them. And she had replied, "Then tell me one." That was how it began, not with fireworks or fate, just a quiet exchange between two souls who both loved the sound of rain. Now years later, I still tell that story, but it has changed into something else, a myth to keep her alive. In my tale, she became Beauty, and I, though I would never admit it aloud, had become the Beast. Not because of my looks or my temper, but because of the silence that grew after she left, the silence that devoured my home, my laughter, my sleep. I sat again by the window, my notebook in hand. The pages were stained with drops, maybe rain, maybe tears. I can never tell anymore. I wrote slowly. The Beast does not live in the castle. He lives in the heart that fears to love again. The ink bled a little. I watched it spread like shadows across the paper. I thought about all the people who had once listened to me, travelers, dreamers, children who had now grown and forgotten the stories that once kept them warm. But I didn't mind. Stories, I believe, are like rain. They fall, they disappear, and yet, somehow, they make everything grow. I closed the notebook and gazed outside. The forest was alive again, leaves shining, birds shaking water from their wings, the world gently waking. I whispered softly, if she could see this morning, she would have loved it. And maybe, somewhere beyond the veil of things, she did. I leaned back, the sound of the rain now faint and far, and began to hum a melody I hadn't sung in years. The one she loved. It was the song I always imagined Beauty might sing to the Beast when words were too heavy, when silence itself became an embrace. Then, as if responding to my music, the wind stirred. A single raindrop landed on the open page beside me, perfectly round, trembling, and broke into a tiny starburst of silver. I smiled. "You're still listening," I said. Outside, the rain faded into mist. The world turned soft and still, like a dream between heartbeats. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel alone. Thank you for spending this quiet moment with me. If this story touched your heart, I'd be so grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. Until next time, take care.